Alright, back in the new shop. So we're a little bit further away now, so I'm just going to start doing quick video updates for people. So this is a typical 6-liter, high 300 kilometers, failed EGR system. Now, the way I noticed that right off the hop was, you can see this is your degas bottle here, right? Now, when this was running, because I drove it here, it ran very poorly, and I could see bubbling coming inside there. So that usually leads me to believe that this EGR cooler is allowing exhaust gases to get into the coolant system, which is pretty typically how they fail. And upon further inspection of this one I had apart, it was extremely dirty. It had one of them Wix filters, which are extremely problematic. See, these Wix filters, they come with a tall cap and actually a slightly longer filter, and they just don't seal right. They don't have the right, see how that has a shitty plastic seal in here, whereas, you know, like the newer Wixes actually have gone over to this softer seal here, so it really bites down and allows that oil to flow through the filter, where these ones, they don't filter shit, right? And it was leaking, so improper installation made a big mess of the engine. Now, EGR obviously is going to trap carbon particles, and it leaves a bunch of junk in there. So I took this one all apart, I cleaned it all up. I was trying to save time, so I used a blocked off EGR cooler. Got it all together, fired it up. Upon the initial scans too, I seen 2 injectors that weren't firing. The 7 and 8 weren't clicking, which is again typical in the back to low fuel pressure. So I put the fuel pressure gauge on it, and I want to see 45 psi, and I was under load, and I was barely getting 20, 30. So I cleaned a few things up and got the air in there, tried to loosen things up, and I got up to that 45 idling, but as soon as I would try and feed it fuel, it just wasn't keeping up. So failed EGR, 2 bad injectors, dirty. Now, see, I just moved here, so I'm still trying to sort through all my buckets of parts, and the place is a mess. And so as you can see, this is the EGR valve that came out, right? So it's just plugged full, and the intake looked a lot like that too, just plugged right full. So what I do in that case is I bring it outside and I heat it up with my Tiger torch, right? And get all the carbons out of it and put it in the wash tank there and get it all nicely cleaned up, and that went well. You know, I'm a little bit concerned, you know, but again, hard to say. It's running poorly, it's going to pass more oil and crap, so we'll get this cleaned up. Now, biggest issue that I was running into was getting everything sealed up right, because it's a nightmare. It's tight in there with the cab on and everything like that. And now that it's gonna have to come back apart to get 2 injectors done, I just decided to go in and just get a proper FlowPro Pro Egr Delete Kit. You know, that's gonna use the J tube to divert the coolant, and then just a simple block off on the exhaust side. We're going to use this blue spring, they call it, right? It's a fuel pressure regulator, updated one, that's going to bump that fuel pressure up and give us around 60-70 psi pressure, and that really helps save these injectors. So I got 2 remand injectors here. So this is a Huey system, so it uses oil pressure through the top to push the intensifier down to spray the fuel out. So you get fuel goes in there, right? Low pressure, that's what we're going to use the blue spring to bump, just to keep this cavity full. So when that oil pressure, you know, it's always got, it's what's not dunk, dunk, you know, and that's what I think was happening there. Just insufficient fuel going to the back two cylinders, wrecks the injectors, and that's that. So another thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put some of this arch oil in. So this stuff's about 80 bucks a shot. So that's 16 ounces. It's I've used it a lot. It's fantastic. Do some research on it. It really loosens up the spool valve inside the Huey injectors, cleans things up, quiets it down, does just wonders for it. Absolute wonders, especially on a high mile engine like this. It's worth every penny. So these injectors from Ford, they're about 400 bucks, right? And this is an auto value one, right? And they're about 260 a piece. So they're not cheap, but it's really the only way to go rather than muddling around with old crappy stuff, right? And you know, that's really what you want. So yeah, so that's kind of where it's at. We're gonna, like I said, just get that turbo back apart. Now that turbo was really gummed up too. The unison ring was stuck. You can see there was no bracket holding on this boost pressure sensor here, so we're gonna find one of those. So yeah, the VGT and the turbo's all cleaned up. It seems to be moving fine. Yeah, I think it'll be okay as long as there's no cylinder damage, as long as it didn't go too long and it didn't wash the cylinders down. That's always what we worry about when people drive these things around with bad EGRs, failed injectors. It just sprays raw fuel down into the cylinder and it's not firing right, and you end up losing compression. So at this point in time, it's, you know, it's still a good truck, right? These trucks are expensive right now. It's not in horrible shape, right? It's a Lariat sunroof truck. So, you know, we're gonna get those back two injectors in and put that proper EGR delete on. Everything's all cleaned up. You know, I did try a couple of things just in case. It's old, you know. I've got a good known shop fix on. This one did seem to test okay on the computer, and once I got it off, I can see it is a remanufactured one. So we are gonna put that one back in. But when I see injector failures, I like to you know, just try another Fickum anyways, and just see if that changes any of the results. In this case, it didn't. So yeah, both these valve covers will come off. We'll dig out. Oh, and while those valve covers are off, we'll take care of those two glow plugs, being that winter's coming. Because what I'd like to do here is I have a lot of troubles getting the harnesses off. Right, the harnesses on these are a nightmare, and you know, and that really involves, you know, getting this whole inner fender out and you know, pulling with pieces of wire and whatnot. But if the valve cover's off, I can get a pry bar in there, right? And I've got a special pry bar, and I can just push that harness out from the back, and I'm able to get at the injector, so, or at the glow plug. So yeah, we're gonna go after that next. I'll put in a good solid day, and you know, it'll run great, or it won't. You know, and that's the gamble kind of you take on these things. Most guys are just, yeah, you know, replace the engine, it's no good, and why waste the time. I had a few concerns. It looked like somebody's replaced this tensioner, you know, with an aftermarket tensioner, right? They probably had a belt failure, but this belt, you know, it's hard to see on the camera, but it looks like it's oil soaked, right? So, you know, that we may change after. The computer called a fan hub. So I've got you know, a few of them here anyways. Oh yeah, I think of that bucket, right? You know, I saved those. So I'll try a different fan on there, and hopefully that comes back. Because now this thing, provided everything's good, it's gonna run fantastic. And it'll go from like being at 30% capacity, maybe up to like 80%, you know, and then you're gonna see a lot higher temperatures and pressures and everything like that, and that's where other things kind of rear their ugly head, right? So especially when you're towing a Bobcat or something like that. So yeah, but I don't know, we're on the right track here anyways. You know, radiator looks relatively clean. That's probably been replaced. You know, alternator is kind of one of those goofy aftermarket styles. I like to see those connectors up on the top. I seem to have better luck with those cases. They burn out better. But yeah, well, I'm up to my 10 minutes. That's what I'm gonna try and limit these on. Hopefully that's gonna answer enough questions and explain why it didn't get done just immediately in one day. You know, it's a lot of work, but yeah, nonetheless, I'll peel that down and I'll give you another quick little update. And yeah, hopefully this thing's towing your bobcat around ASAP.